Since you chose two cameras, one film, one digital, your challenge today will be to shoot both on the same photo walk and determine which of these cameras is the better street camera. Please state at least 5 observations about your shooting style you made with these cameras to fulfill this mission. And please remember, the overriding mission of only shooting black and white is still active. Good luck!
Okay, that shall be an interesting mission, since the M6 is my most used camera and digital is something I am not really familiar with. The Leica M6 and the Fuji X100V are two rather different cameras, the M6 being film and the X100V being digital for one, but also one being quote-unquote full frame when it comes to the negative size and one being an APS-C sized sensor. Nonetheless, the cameras are rather similar when it comes to the overall package. On the M6 I pretty much have the 35mm Leica Summicron glued to the body, and with the Fujinon 23mm being a 35mm full frame equivalent, it comes out to the same focal length. And while the M6 is fully manual, the X100V has many manual wheels as well for the most important settings like shutter speed, aperture or ISO. Some information: in my M6 I use Ilford HP5 pushed by 2 stops, which means that I shoot it at 1600 and developed it in X-Trol using a 1+1 dilution. And in the X100V I shoot the Kodak Tri-X400 film simulation and use the JPEG straight out of camera. But before getting to my observations, let's warm up a little bit and give both cameras a spin. Observation number 1. Focusing. My first observation certainly is the style of focusing. With my M6 I use zone focusing, which means that I stop down the lens to approximately f8, sometimes f11 or f16 if the sun allows, to have a broader range of focus. Then I measure the distance to my subject I want to shoot, and all I need to do is to make sure that the subject is within the zone of sharpness. You can do that by looking at the distance scale on the lens, or as I do, by feeling the position of the focusing tab. Over time I built so much muscle memory with the setup that I know the distance just by feeling where the focus tab is on my lens. I usually work with 2 to 3 zones. One zone where the subject is very close to me, one zone where the subject is maybe 1.5 to 2 meters away from me, and one zone where the subject is further away in the distance. I only need to remember these 3 positions of the lens, and with that it's almost impossible to miss focus. With the X100V I found myself using the autofocus and not manually focusing, since there isn't a distance scale on the lens and there are also no hard focusing stops, which makes zone focusing in the way that I know it pretty much impossible. I used the zone autofocus mode though, which I didn't find to be as reliable. You still have to place the rectangle on the area where you want your focus zone to be, which is something I often forget in the middle of shooting. So if anybody knows any better solution, please send it my way. On that observation, it's a clear win for the M6 for me, since nothing beats the accuracy and speed of manual focusing. Observation number 2. Shooting frequency. On this walk, I finished one roll of HP5 on camera and half a roll of Warmup 400 off camera, which isn't even 50 shots of film in total. On the Fuji, on the other hand, I shot about 200 images, which is 4 times as much. Even though I hate overshooting, I tend to get more trigger happy when I have a digital camera in my hands, which leads to a lot of rivets and images that will get deleted later on anyway. So the shooting frequency of the M6 is way more in line with my workflow, but on the other hand, my snappiness on the X100V has some advantages as well. I took more series of photos of one situation and have images of the same thing that are just seconds apart. On the M6 I usually take 1 or maybe 2 images of a scene and sometimes miss moments in between. So while overshooting is annoying, it can result in some unexpected images that would be hard to get otherwise. So when it comes to shooting frequency, for me personally, it's a draw between both. Of course, there's no good mission without a side quest.
Oh shit!
Yes.
I follow you on YouTube.
Hi. Oh, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Can we take a selfie?
Yes, of course, sure. I'm actually filming a video right now.
Yeah?
Yes.
This is William from Indonesia, who recognized me on the streets and asked to take a photo together. I hope you enjoyed your stay in Germany, so thank you so much for saying hi.
Nice to
What's
meet
your
you.
name?
William.
William, hi.
Can I take a portrait of you?
Sure, go ahead.
Turn off. Kadeway?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it digital or?
Yeah, this is the M10.
Oh, nice. Really, really nice. Yeah. Still rocking my film camera, but
Titanium.
one day.
Yeah, good.
One day maybe. Okay. See you soon. Bye bye.
Coincidentally, I also got another image of myself from that day. I received an email from a photographer called Uwe, who took this street shot of me. He spotted me on the street that day and took a photo because he saw my M6, even though he didn't know who I was. And by chance, a couple of days later, he discovered my YouTube channel and connected the dots, which is why he sent me this mail with my image. What a coincidence. That's how small the street photography world is, and for a change it was an interesting side quest to be the subject of a street portrait and street snapshot myself this time. Observation number 3. Subject interest. I noticed that my subject interest shifted slightly depending on the camera I have in my hands. With the M6 I pay attention to the action on the streets a lot more, while the X100V encouraged me to pay attention to more layers and things like reflections. With the X100V it's much easier to anticipate what will reflect and what won't due to the possibility of using live view. Especially when using the EVF, I noticed that reflections became more and more apparent and interesting for me. Somehow a whole new world of possible subject matters opened up to me with this camera, which kind of felt out of reach with film. So for me personally, this is +1 for the X100V here. Observation number 4. The look. I love HP5 in general, and HP5 pushed by 2 stops on an overcast day gives me the grain and tones I aim for. I would have thought that the look would be a clear winner for film, but to be honest, I like the JPEGs from the Fuji a lot and feel like they give me a similar quality and feel as my film images. After I posted the film images side by side with the Fuji images on my Instagram feed, I was actually surprised how well they go along with each other and how well they blend together. By the way, talking about Instagram, if you want to see more of my street images or photography work in general, you should definitely check out my work on Instagram at Karin Majoka. So surprisingly, the look is not such a hard criterion as I would have expected, so this one is also a draw. Wait, since we're playing the Grand Photography Adventure, shouldn't I be able to change the music? Let's just try it. Oh yeah, that's a different mood for sure. Let's see what else there is. Not bad at all. Okay, next. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Photography and lo-fi beats, a match made in heaven. And all this is only possible due to the sponsor of this episode, Epidemic Sound. Epidemic Sound is an online music streaming platform to provide creatives with royalty-free music and sound effects for their projects. I've been using Epidemic Sound for more than 2 years now, which is why I was really happy when they reached out. On the platform you can find an incredibly broad range of music, sorted by genre, moods or themes, ranging from more mainstream to really niche tracks, and also a huge catalog of sound effects of all sorts. My all-time favorite feature probably is that you get music recommendations based on your most recent activities on the platform. And with another helpful feature, you can also find songs similar to a song you like, which makes it easy and fast to find the perfect track for any project. What I found particularly interesting is that they recently launched a German website which allows German keyword search, which is really helpful for somebody like me who's not an English native speaker and simply doesn't know the term for a lot of sound effects that are used in everyday language. If you are a creator for social media like TikTok, Instagram or YouTube, or just a music enthusiast who wants to get access to a gigantic music library, check out Epidemic Sound, and by using the link in the description box, you will get a free 30-day trial access. It's coffee time. How our master Samuel Streetlife taught us, there's always time for a coffee break. And when walking over 15,000 steps, fueling up with cake and coffee might help to bump up that health bar again.
Tschüss auch so. War super lecker, war richtig gut, danke. Ciao.
Observation number 5. Framing. Framing my shots is another difference I noticed with both cameras. With my M6, most of the time I frame by using the viewfinder, which means that I bring the camera to my eye. I sometimes shoot from the hip, but it's more the exception than the norm. And with the X100V, it's exactly the other way around. I use the screen for framing and bring the camera to my eye more rarely. It allows me to shoot more incognito by using the camera almost like a TLR with the flip screen, and it also lets me shoot more diverse angles and perspectives. But I noticed that my compositions are sloppier and less refined that way. And since the LCD screen is so tempting to use, I rather see this as a danger than a benefit. It kind of results in neglecting proper framing and composing, which is why this point has to go towards the slower yet more profound framing style I use with my M6.
So I just finished my roll of film and I will probably not load another one in because it's getting dark relatively quickly, and I think maybe I have like a 15 minutes, 20 minutes of light left. And yeah, I think this is where the strength of digital kick in, because you can simply put your ISO a little higher and then you're good to go.
So when it comes to low light performance, we have a little bonus point for the X100V here. Even when shooting a very fast film, it's almost impossible to get shots without using a flash. So the experience of being able to continue shooting as it got really dark is a bonus point I haven't been able to enjoy on film. When we count in the hard facts, both cameras are pretty much on par. Maybe with a slight advantage of the M6 in terms of my personal preference when it comes to my shooting style. But as the challenge progressed, I understood that the challenge was not really to determine the winner when it comes to the better street photography camera, but it was rather to learn through observation. I feel like I understand my shooting style a lot better now and see that it's not the same with every tool I use, but that my style adapts when shooting this or that camera, and with that the benefits and downsides also change. Gear doesn't matter is therefore only halfway true, since cameras modulate the way we shoot. Phew, now that I've fulfilled the mission, I can finally give the X100V back to its original owner. Surprise! I got a digital camera.